Hey everyone, I'm Teacher Matt and I'm so excited to be teaching you how to build a slot machine using Scratch. Hold on. Letter from Teacher Michael. Dear Teacher Matt, you need to stop right now. Teaching kids to build Vegas-style slot machines is unethical, immoral, and possibly illegal. If you don't stop, I will quit. Love, Teacher Michael. P.S. I'm in a little trouble at the horse races. Can I have an advance on my salary? All right, let's build our slot machine. I already deleted the Scratch Cat. I went to the stage and I went ahead and drew 3 different boxes. And I just used the copy and paste feature to make them look exactly correct. Next, I'm going to add a sprite and I'll choose from the sprite collection. I'm going to have a theme of fruit. You can choose a different theme if you'd like. There, that's a banana. It's going to go right there in position 1. Now I'm going to add some costumes because sometimes it will show banana, sometimes maybe it will show an apple, and then other times maybe it will show, I don't know, we need some more fruit here. Oh, there we go, watermelon. All right. You have to have at least 3 different items. Otherwise, it's not very fun. Okay, so everything is looking pretty good. Let's only code 1 sprite at a time, and then we'll duplicate it for the other slots. Now, let's call this first window, well, it's kind of a window. Let's call it 1, window 2, and window 3. So for this sprite, let's rename it to window 1. They're not actually windows, but they kind of look like them. And let's go and code this. And the first thing I want you to focus on is the looks and actually changing the costume. So you want to see switch costume. And you'll notice that the costumes have names, but also Scratch thinks about costumes as numbers. So you can see these little numbers right here, 1, 2, and 3. So if you use something like a random number maker, right here, pick random number, you can actually slot it in there. And since there's 3 costumes, you could do 1 to 3. And as I click on this, it will randomly switch between costumes. That's going to be really helpful for building our game. Now let's add the functionality that makes the costumes change a random amount of times. Because in this case, we click on it every time. We want it to do it many times, so let's use a repeat block. So go into Control, grab the repeat 10. That will make it obviously repeat 10 times, which will be a little bit predictable. So what we can do is go to the operators, and yes, you guessed it, do a pick random. There we go. So our first window is now totally randomized. It's a little bit, I don't know, it's kind of flickering. So let's grab a control block called the wait block and maybe add just a little bit of wait time in there so that it doesn't feel so rushed. There, that sounds good. Can you imagine that? The sound of that machine, ding, 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 ding. I'm going to win. Now we have a game loop here, this repeat block that's repeating it. And now we know, okay, the final costume is an apple. We need to remember that information because we want the game to win if you get an apple and an apple and an apple. So we'll hold that apple costume, that information, in a variable. So create a variable, and it'll be for all sprites. And we'll call this one window 1 costume or final costume or some way to remember what it's going to be. And after this loop is done, we'll set the window 1 costume to a number. Well, wait a minute. Well, what number do we set it to? Well, there's actually a handy pre-made variable in the looks menu. Just scroll down to the bottom and you'll see costume number. Wow, a variable already made. So if we just put it there, then go ahead and run that code, or actually you have to click on this code to run it, and you'll see that the final costume number will equal, well, apple, and that's number 2. Let's check to make sure it's correct. Yep, costume number 2. Now, before we duplicate this sprite, let's go and clean up the code a little bit. Well, first of all, we don't have any events. You always need to have a starting event. We don't want this to happen as soon as you start the game. That's not fun. We actually want to have our own little message. So when I receive message 1, no, how about like start game or play game or some way, let's make a new message. I'm going to say play game. There. Now I know that this won't start till I send that message. And what are we going to do in the beginning? Are we going to show this sprite? You know, all the stuff that you do when you're building a game. Do I want it to show? Do I want it to be in that position? Yeah, I don't want anybody to move that. So let's force it to go to that position. There. And now let's see if that works. And now if I receive play game, it will run. I think I'm ready to duplicate this sprite. So I'll just hover over it, right click, duplicate. and I'll do it 3 times. Hey, look at that. It actually changed the names for me. Window 1, Window 2, Window 3. How handy is that? Now, we do need to do a little bit of cleanup. For example, Window 2 right here will need to change its position. So let's go ahead and switch this code block for where it is right now. Let's see if that works. Yep, that works. And let's go do it for this one as well. So this is just a little bit of cleanup because you were duplicating something that needed changed. Now, the other thing you'll notice is right here, we only have one variable called window 1 costume. So we'll need to make 2 more variables. And there'll be window 2 costume. And this one will set window 2 costume to costume number. And then this one will be called window 3, obviously, costume. And that's the final costume. And let's set this, all right, there. So now we have 3 variables that you see up here at the top, and they will, when you broadcast, let's go ahead and broadcast that message just manually. So come in here and let's broadcast play game. So I click on that, and that should reset all of these numbers. Now all we have to do is compare the window 1, window 2, window 3 to see if they're the same number. If they are, you win. Now, we were just using this broadcast button right here just for an example. I'm going to throw it away, and I'm going to paint a new sprite, or actually, I'm going to go grab one of these buttons right here. They look really nice, and that's going to be used to start this game. So let's go ahead and go to the costumes, and let's say something like play, or whatever you want to call it. Mine's the play button. There. Now, this play button, even though it just looks like a simple little button, it's going to have a lot of code on it because it's going to determine the winner. So let's go to the code. And remember, we need to broadcast this message, play game. But there's a problem. This message, play game, is actually going to trigger the code right here, and the code right here, and the code right here. That's a lot of code, and we actually have to wait until these variables are set before we can determine a winner. So if this play button right here happens really fast, you won't know the winner. We need to wait. Did you hear that? Wait, yes. So anytime you want to wait until everything is done, use the broadcast play game and wait. This is the preferred method. So let's see. Oh, I just clicked on it and I just won. Wow, that's pretty cool. So the basic idea is this button, when it's clicked, so go to events. When this sprite is clicked, it will broadcast play game and it will wait. Now, since we want to wait until that play game message is done running, we probably want to hide this button so someone can't spam click it. So I'll just go to looks, I'll go to hide. And so as soon as you click that button, it will hide it. And then it will show it after this play game and wait code has run. So let's see if that works. It disappears, and then it reappears after all of the variables have been set. Now's the fun part. We need to figure out if you won or lost. Well, what did we win or lose? What are you betting? Are you betting money? Let's create a new variable called money, or cash, or points, or health, or whatever you want to call it. Now we have that variable so you know how much money you have. So when you win, the money will go up. When you lose, the money will go down. And if you're in Vegas, obviously the money tends to go down. Well, in my case, we're going to use a new type of block to determine how much money you have. That's called a my block. Here it is. We'll have to create this block. So make a block, and then let's call this one calculate money, or determine money, or add money, or whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to call it the money block. And I'm going to run this without screen refresh. The reason why is I want this code to run as fast as possible because it's just calculating money. I'll click OK. There. Now it says define money, and then you'll notice I have this block over here. What this block right here will do is it will fire or run this code right here. It's kind of like a message block, but a little fancier. So I'm going to put the money right here. There. So this money block is going to do whatever is defined as money. And I'm going to do a whole bunch of comparisons. So I'll go to the operators, And I'm going to use these greater than, equal than. Yeah, actually, I want to use the equal to. And I'll need a couple of those because what I want to know is if these variables, these window 1 costumes, are equal. So I want to say, is window 1 equal to window 2? And then I want another one of these. Oh, how do I do that? Okay, hold on. I have to look at that. I'm kind of combining them. There we go. Is equal to window 3. It's getting crazy, isn't it? All right, in order for this to be true, when I click on it, see it says false right now. In order for it to be true, each one of these has to be exactly the same costume. If all this happens, instead of it saying false right there, it will say true. And then you want your money to go up. So we can say change money by 1. Wow, that's all you win is 1? I feel like you should win more money if all of these are true. So I'm going to need an if statement to put this in here. So let's go to control and we'll say if, and then put this giant conditional in there. And let's say define money. Boy, here we go. Now, do I need to put a forever loop around this? No. Why not? Because I only want this money function. Well, I'm going to call it a function. Whenever you have a whole bunch of code that's defined and this will all run together, we call that a function. So this money function is going to run, and I don't need a forever loop because I only want it to run one time. There. And it will change my money by 100 if they are all the same. Now, this is kind of the jackpot situation, right? If all of them are the same thing, then you win the big money. Also, this is a great place right here to put a message like, play some music, flash a big message. And I'm not going to do that because you should have the skills to do that right now. But we can put that broadcast right here, like, let's make a new message, and that one's called Big Winner. And obviously you can code that yourself. But what happens if 2 of these are the same? Or actually, what happens if they're all different? You want to keep, there we go, 2 of them are the same. Don't you want to give them a prize for that as well? Wouldn't that make them feel good? Well, you can. Instead of using this if block, we're going to use an if else. Well, why do you need an if else? Can't you just use 2 if blocks? Well, yeah, let me show you what happens. If we did this, let me just duplicate this code here, and we said something like, let's do something a little more easier. Watch this. Can you follow along as I move things around? Here, if costume 1 and costume 2 are equal, then you could change the money. I'm just going to move this around here. You could change the money by 10. Let's say you get like a little prize. Well, what's going to happen here is all of this code's going to run. So if they're all the same, you win, plus you also get an extra $10 because the first one and the second one. Do you see what I mean? So instead of winning $100 in this case, you would win 110, and that's messed up. We don't want to make bugs in our code like that. So instead of putting this if by itself, we're going to use an if else block. All right, so let me show you how we're going to do that. First of all, I'm going to have to just move things around here. We're going to transfer this information into the if else block right here, just like that. And I'm going to throw away this if block. There we go. So now, if you have a big winner, great. It's going to change your money, whatever. But if it's not a big winner, you have kind of this else block, this second chance. And in that second chance, you can actually pile up a whole bunch of if statements. We can say, well, if 1 is equal to that, or if 2 is equal to, well, no, 2 equals 2, that's silly. 2 equals 3. You can kind of keep adding different options that will give you different amounts of money. And you can add your own little broadcast for each one of those. So let's go into events and let's say, like, this one isn't going to be a big winner. This is going to be like a little winner. or I'm going to call this one match 2 because you match 2 of them. And this will be the exact same. Wait a minute. I repeated myself. Did they ever teach you that in code school? Never repeat yourself. this window 1 equals window 2, that's exactly the same code I'm building right here. I don't need all of this code. Let's just shrink this down for a second, and let's use an OR block. So go to operators, and let's say OR. So we can say if window 1 equals window 2, or duplicate that, or window 2 equals window 3. Boy, I just saved myself a lot of time by doing these OR statements. A couple questions here. How much does this game cost to play? Because right now it's basically free. Let's go ahead and on this button, because I just deleted. Oh no, I just deleted. Go to Edit, Restore Sprite. Whew, thank goodness it has that feature. We forgot to set up the game. What do you mean set up? Well, when the game starts, we need to give them some money. Otherwise, you have no money to play with, right? So let's say when the game starts, we'll set our money. I don't know. Let's give them 100 to start with. Now that you have some money, how much is it going to cost each time you play? You'll want to reduce that money. So we'll change money by how much is it going to cost? $1 to play? $5 to play? I don't know. Mine's going to cost $1. Mine's pretty cheap game. So we'll say when I click this sprite, we'll change the money by 1. There it is. Now I'm down. I'm losing. Okay, we have so many variables in here. Let's clean it up a little bit just so that the users don't see that information. So I'm just going to go to the variable menu and hide this. Now this money one is sort of important. I could put it right there. I could also do a large readout and then just add a sprite that explains that this is your money. That would be pretty cool. For right now, I'll just leave it like this. And this is the time where your creativity is really going to help this game. It's sort of boring looking, and that doesn't make people want to spend money. You want to make it exciting. The other thing or pet peeve I have is, well, when you play this game, they all kind of randomly flash. We really want the first one to be determined before the second and the third one. So I'm going to go into the code for the first one. See where it says pick random 1 to 10? That's good. For the second one, let's do pick random 10 to 20. And then for the third one, let's do 30 to 40. Now this little adjustment should make it so that the first one ends first, and then the second one, and then the third. And that feels a lot more professional. Oh, this one, it's still going. And if you've ever seen Vegas or walked by a casino, all those noises that you hear, that music, the sounds, those are all designed to get you excited about playing. So don't forget to add those sounds. And one thing I really like to add is when the button is clicked, there'll be some sort of, excitement music. So let's go to sounds and let's choose something like an effect or a loop or, okay, dance energy. That one's kind of interesting. Let's see how that one sounds. So let's go to sound and then let's play sound when this button is clicked. Let's see how that feels. And in this case, that sound is too long. I don't want it to keep going even after I've lost. So there's this cool stop all sounds, and we'll put it right here. Right after we've broadcasted play game and wait, we'll stop it right there. And now the fun starts. I need to really entice players to click that play button. So I'm going to do some of my own coding. You can do your own, and let's see how exciting we can make this game. Okay, so I've added some final touches. Check this out. When I click the play button, it has a little one-arm bandit handle that comes down. Good luck flashes. And then if I win, it will flash a you won message right here. You won. So let me show you how I did that. First of all, the little handle here, these games used to be called one-arm bandits because you'd actually pull the handle. What I did is I just drew a little animation here, and then I set it up so that when the game starts, obviously it's costume 1 right there. And then when I receive play game, I just switch through the costumes so it looks like you're pulling the handle. I don't know. It's just kind of nostalgic for me. And then for the messages like the you win, so the big winner one, this one is actually pretty, I don't need the sound pop here. This one's actually pretty cool. I repeated the sounds of coin with a wait 0 seconds. That way it makes this sound. Doesn't that sound satisfying? Like, oh, You won. And then for the match 2, which is kind of like the big winner, but it's not as much money, I just repeated 5 times. So it sounds like, you still win, but not as much. So I hope that code kind of inspires you to make this game more appealing, because that's really the goal, is you want to entice everyone to play your game. Oh, hey, Michael. Oh, you like the lesson? Oh, you're not going to quit. No, at horse races, you bet on the horse that you think is going to win. No, you're not buying horses. No, you can't take the horse home. No.